afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to The Big Show. The Big Show brought to you every single day at about 5 o'clock. We like to talk about all things with respect to Pittsburgh sports, all things with respect to the day in sports, and especially the Steelers. We're brought to you by FanDuel Casino. FanDuel is the casino app that is the best in the business. We'll talk a little bit about many of the things that you can do with the FanDuel app. Now, it's interesting. Yesterday, John Harbaugh was fired. Reaction was predictable within here, Pittsburgh. Some people saying, well, you know, they should have done the same thing to Tomlin. And also people saying, well, this is going to help the Steelers. And I think that's, you know, one of the things is the Steelers have actually kind of owned John Harbaugh recently. But I think that one of the things that everybody always points to is the fact that it's hard to replace a good coach. John Harbaugh was a good coach. He was a good coach. You can't replace him. But here's the thing. You don't know that. They might hire a better coach, and they might actually have more success. And the thing about that job is you've got a guy like Lamar Jackson already in place. And so I look at it and I say, okay, John Harbaugh, if you remember, he replaced Brian Billick, who had won a Super Bowl, by the way. And, you know, we've seen examples of this. It's just one of those situations where, you know, John Harbaugh is a good coach who couldn't get him over the top in recent years, and they decided we're going to go find another guy. So Steeler fans, you know, the big thing is you don't know how it's going to turn out. You don't know if they're going to hire a better coach. Maybe they'll hire a worse coach, and maybe it'll be better for the Steelers. Maybe John Harbaugh will go to the Browns or the Giants, but the reality is, I look at the situation and I say, you know, I think that you've got to wait to see who they hire and how it works. You know, like, for instance, I've heard some people talk about Cliff Kingsbury, who hasn't really had a ton of success as a head coach. But guess what? He's had success as a coordinator with a guy like Jaden Daniels, who, you know, is probably what you would consider to be pretty similar, right? Pretty similar to Lamar Jackson. So maybe they hire him as their head coach, and he goes out and gets a good defensive coordinator, and all of a sudden they're right back in the mix. All of a sudden they're good enough. All of a sudden they are absolutely in a place where they can win again and win quickly because they do have the quarterback in. I'll see what is happening when they hire their coach. But don't just assume they're not going to be able to hire a guy as good as John Harbaugh or better, because it happens all the time. You know, when the Eagles fired Andy Reid, a lot of people say, well, Andy Reid, come on now. Andy Reid is a guy who, you know, he's gotten to 5 or 6 NFC title games, got to a Super Bowl. The Eagles won't do better than him, and the very next guy they hired goes out and wins a Super Bowl. Then they fire him, and the next guy gets to 2 Super Bowls and wins the Super Bowl. So I think that, you know, that has happened in the past. So I don't know that you can say that they are better or worse for, you know, with respect to John Harbaugh, because I don't think you know who they're actually going to go out and hire. Period. That's the key. And I think that's where the disconnect comes. People assume they're not going to be able to hire a coach as good as the coach that they just fired. And that's really a problem to me. So I feel like it's important, really, in many, many ways, to go out and do your due diligence on a new coach. But it is possible for them to go get another coach that is good enough. We are getting ready to be joined by John Phillips, who's messing with his camera right now. Is that going to work for you? Let's go to John Phillips. John, how you doing? John Phillips, Steel City game day. How are you doing?
I'm good. I got behind a little accident getting into South Bend, so I'm on the fly here, but I'm happy to be joining you today, Paul. I'm very sorry to hear the bad news, obviously, about the paper.
Well, I guess life goes on, right?
Yeah.
You are going to be doing the pregame show again for the Steelers in the Texans. You and I talk every week about it. First and foremost, what were your thoughts on John Harbaugh getting fired and this idea that somehow, because he's a good coach, the Ravens will not be able to, replace him with someone who can, duplicate his success?
Well, I guess first off, I guess really the biggest thing was that I didn't realize that he had lost the locker room in Baltimore. And I think, that right there in and of itself is probably the biggest reason why ownership probably needed to move on from him. I don't think it had anything to do with Tyler Loop missing a 44-yard field goal at the end of, the last game of the regular season to their most bitter rivals. This clearly has been building for a little bit of time. It wasn't all that long ago when John Harbaugh was on the block and an injury to Joe Flacco kind of forced his hand to bring Lamar Jackson in. And the next thing you know, they go on a pretty good run of 7 or 8 seasons, but they just couldn't quite get over the hump. And, the thing about Ben Roethlisberger's career was that he always had to compete against Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Well, Lamar Jackson was competing with the likes of, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen drafted into the league right around that time, maybe a year behind him, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield was in Cleveland. I mean, look, there's 31 other teams out there trying to do the same thing you are, which is win. And they're trying to put the best 22 on the field that they can. And, look, no one's denying how talented Lamar Jackson is, how talented he is. But clearly there was some sort of strain between players and Harbaugh, possibly even some of the coaches. He'll be fine. I can certainly assure you he ain't going to go to Cleveland, right? I'm almost certain of that. And I think Baltimore will be just fine as well. I said right away last night when this all went down that, Brian Flores should be the first call for just about anybody with an opening right now. Brian Flores should be the first call for many teams. There's plenty of good candidates out there for everybody to look at. The question is, can you land somebody that can find the magic sauce? And that's really the $64,000 question that, teams like Baltimore, Cleveland, Arizona, the Giants, they're going to have to try to figure out if they can get that formula to find that secret sauce and get a coach that can, put together a winner for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key. All of it is the key, really, in so many ways. The Ravens have Lamar Jackson, and that's considered a strength. But I think one of the things about it is he is maybe declining a little bit. He's gotten beaten up. He's gotten his legs a little bit less. And I think that's been a problem for him.
Yeah, he's suffered some injuries the last couple of years, no question about it. And and that'll linger on as he's gonna get a little bit older. If he's not already 30 years old, he should be close to it. That's another, something to think about. I mean, maybe not running as much as he once did. He certainly is effective. I mean, he was effective in that game Sunday. He can still throw a pretty decent ball still. Obviously, he didn't overthrow the wide open receivers that he had on Sunday night. He had 3 receivers that were, there was no defenders around him, and he put those balls exactly where they needed to be. So the mechanic-wise, he still has the ability to throw, but the injuries are definitely a concern, and those will mount. I mean, that's part of what Joe Burrow's knock is. He gets hurt. And even though he's been to a Super Bowl and came within a few minutes of winning one, injuries definitely can pile up, and that can derail a career for sure.
If you had to rank the jobs, I think the Giants' job is probably the best job. I think the Ravens' job is pretty good. I actually think the Browns' job is pretty good if you are able to get somebody who has some ability to, or get organized and work with that general manager to get the offense a little bit better. I think the Arizona job stinks. What's the other job that's open?
Raiders. The Raiders is open. Raiders job is open. That's dumpster fire.
And Tennessee's open too, right? I think Tennessee,
yep.
And they at least have a rookie quarterback who, might be good, might not be good. I don't know. If you were John Harbaugh and you had your choice, they said every team reached out to him that had an opening. What job would you take?
I mean, clearly the Giants job or the Tennessee job, just based on, the young quarterbacks that they have. And that's not to say, look, I've been hard on Shedeur Sanders. I don't think he's, I think there's a certain segment of people out there in the media and just fan base that, wants him to be so good and so successful, for whatever reasons. And maybe Shedeur with the right coaching staff, and if he's got the right attitude, and I don't know if he does or not. I don't dislike Shedeur Sanders. I don't wish ill will on him. Maybe he can be developed into an efficient NFL quarterback. It's by far the hardest position to get the success you need out of. It's the one with the biggest spotlight. They make the most money. The pressure's high there. I think Sanders probably can handle it, given who his father is and the spotlight that he's been under, since he was a little kid. But yeah, I think the Giants, the Tennessee job, those are the first two that jump out for sure. Not being Baltimore for Harbaugh. You've got, Jackson Dart up in New York. You got Cam Heyward, as I mentioned, in Tennessee. John will have a job in due time through due process. I don't doubt it. And, and a team will benefit from John Harbaugh for sure. Having him and his pedigree will help some franchise be lifted up and hopefully, in their particular case, to become a winner again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's obviously, to me, I think it's intriguing when these jobs open up, which one becomes, the most coveted one. I don't know. I know people are in love with Jackson Dart. We'll see how good he actually really is. I mean, he's still got some time, but we'll figure that out. I think looking at the Steelers game on Sunday, you look at the matchup, John. I've been saying all week that I think the Steelers are going to win this game, and the reason is because I like the matchup they have. Their defense against the Texans' offense, I think, probably dictates this is going to be a low-scoring, one-score kind of game. And guess what? Mike Tomlin wins those games.
He most certainly does. And just like last week, where he was coming off a loss, and nobody thought the Steelers were going to win that game on Sunday night. And for a period of time, it looked like they weren't going to. But in the second half, Aaron Rodgers just picked it up. Other players picked it up. But really, the will of Aaron Rodgers, 47 pass attempts, just the ability and darts. That pass to Adam Thielen, an absolute dart. He caught Freiermuth down the middle of the field. Who knew that the Steelers could throw between the hash marks so successfully, Paul, and to Pat Freiermuth, who they pay a whole bunch of money. But yeah, the matchup of the Steelers defense, which has played much better. They played much better as of late. And look, for the Texans to succeed, it's really about C.J. Stroud. Can he be effective? Can he find Nico Collins and some of the other, I hate to say this, weapons, because offensively they're just very average. They're very pedestrian. Their EPA rush is 31st. They don't run the ball very well. Average, points a game offensively. Yardage is, very average. But their success will be dictated in the playoffs on how CJ Stroud can play and perform. I think that's a big difference. Obviously their defense is stout, and we can talk about them in a moment, but Stroud will be the key for the Texans. If he can't move the football for them, they're going to be in trouble on Monday.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a big thing with Stroud. The front seven, I think, of the Steelers will probably dominate the Texans' offensive line. And, I think one of the things is I've already opinion Mike Tomlin's going to be back anyway. No matter what happens here, he's already done enough to get back, correct? So if he wins, it's definitely going to be another 3 or 4 years of people complaining about him, right? Especially if they lose the next week.
Well, yeah. If they lose, he's coming back no matter what, right? And I think even if he would have lost Sunday, he's still coming back. I've resigned myself to the fact that Art Rooney II, he can talk a good game, but ultimately Mike Tomlin runs this football team. Art's an attorney who got into the family business right when his father was starting to kind of slow down, and he took that position as an ambassador. He's content with Art, or Art's content with Tomlin running the team. They want to see progress. If they win Monday night and then they lose in the divisional, I'll consider it progress. Right? It's not a successful season, right? Do they have to win a playoff game for it to be successful? No, they don't. It's just progress. If they win one playoff game and then lose the divisional, it's progress. And I'll take that. I'll take that from Tomlin, especially when you put your eggs in the basket of a 41, now 42-year-old quarterback, right? They've struggled since Ben retired. They struggled a couple of seasons before Ben retired. And they didn't plan properly, and that's on Tomlin. And you hope that he's going to figure it out. But he's coming back 100%. He wants that record. He wants that all-time wins record in the franchise. I know he tied the regular season mark. He'll pass it next year in the first regular season win. But then, overall total wins, including playoffs, I think he has to win 12 or 13 games to get that. And that may take a couple seasons for him. I know that's a feather that he would love to have in his cap, and rightfully so. It'll be season 20 next year, or 21 by the time he maybe breaks the record. And I'm almost also resigned to the fact that Aaron Rodgers will probably be back for one more year. That's the other component here. I'm almost certain of that.
I think that if Tomlin is back, Rodgers will certainly be back. Yeah. I mean, again, I look at Mike Tomlin, and I think everybody assumes that, he's just going to want to keep coaching here forever. There's a million reasons why he wants to be getting out. He could be wanting to get out of town. And that's just sort of a big, big part of it. And maybe he wants to get out of town, but if he doesn't and he wants to stay, he's going to be able to stay as long as he wants to stay, and he's going to have a job here as long as he wants to have the job here. It's pretty clear to me that Aaron Rodgers has said, hey, I am going to stay. I want to play for Mike Tomlin. And you know what? If Aaron Rodgers stays, you can almost use him like a bridge quarterback, but these flights of fantasy that Will Howard is definitely the guy I think is just typical. He's maybe he's the guy, but I've seen very little evidence that he is.
Well, we certainly haven't seen him play, right? We didn't see him play in the preseason. So, he didn't throw a single ball in a preseason, if my memory serves me correct. And so, we have no idea what we have with him, right? And then you got poor Mason Rudolph over there, who's always the bridesmaid and never the bride. They draft him under Tomlin, and apparently Tomlin's not a fan of his, but he relied on that kid to get them to the playoffs in 23. And then they jettison him away. He went to Tennessee for a year, and then they brought him back this year. And I don't know what their future holds in terms of quarterback. I don't know what they'll do with the draft next year. I have no idea. I don't know if they'll want to invest any time in Will Howard. He's probably a 6th-round pick for a reason. Well, I guess they'll have to figure that one out. And yeah, Rodgers could be a bridge to a new starter. I think that once the offseason comes, the Steelers have to figure out what they want to do come April, right? Like, that should be the focus. What is the plan? Are we going to try to move up in the draft? We have an extra picks. Do we try to package somebody? Do we, do we have anybody on the defensive side we can package up to move into a top 5 spot? Is there anybody in the draft that's in the kid from Oklahoma or the kid from Ole Miss is going to come back and play? So he's now out of the mix. So he's coming back for another year. The draft class may not be very strong, right? Arch Manning's not going to be in it, and so therefore they have to, do their due diligence to figure out who's coming out. Do they have players that they can package up? Do they want to move up, or do they want to wait yet another year and then try to develop, who they have and hopefully Aaron Rodgers? Because I don't think Aaron can play. I mean, I guess Aaron could play. He could play at least one more season for sure. I don't know if he can go past 2026. I guess that really will depend on his body and how they end up finishing. But they got a lot of decisions to make once the season ends in terms of getting prepared for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big thing. There's some big decisions they have to make, but Aaron Rodgers being in place for one more year would solve some of their issues because they wouldn't have to go through the nonsense they've gone through the last 3 or 4 years where they're trying to find a veteran quarterback who's a free agent who's available to fill a void. They would have him. You look at the overall picture in the AFC, right? I mean, I don't know if you had to handicap it, who do you think is the favorite here to win it? I mean, to me, I'll tell you who I think might be the 2 best teams are the Jaguars and the Bills, and they play each other.
Yeah, and they play each other. Yeah, I wanted to say Buffalo initially because, if there's a year for Josh Allen to make it happen, he's going to have to make it happen this year. And look, their defense is terrible, right? They're not a good defense. But because they've got Superman at quarterback, they've got a chance to win, right? They have a chance to win. I like Buffalo. I really do. I think this is the run that they can make. I know that they're the 7. It's going to be on the road. But how many times in the last 15, 20 years have we seen teams that are the bottom seed make a run and win the Super Bowl, right? The Steelers, the Packers. I know I'm missing at least one other in there that happened. It can be done. It can be done if you is hot right now. Coming into the postseason when you've won, like Houston 9 in a row, right? Jaguars, I think, are 7 or 8 in a row. The Bills, I think, were 6 of 7 or something like that. They have a quarterback that can make it happen. And Jacksonville has a quarterback that can make it happen. They've got the winner of that game is actually going to be poised. I really believe that.
Yeah, I mean,
I like Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo.
I think the thing about Jacksonville is they've got a really good quarterback who's finally coming into his own. It's taken him a while, but he's finally coming into his own. I think he's pretty good. And so, they have a chance. Again, the Bills and them and Jacksonville might be the best 2 teams, to be honest.
I don't disagree with you 1 second. I do think one of those 2 teams could very well be representing the AFC at Levi Stadium in about 4 weeks' time. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the key. I mean, to me, it's really one of those things where the AFC seems wide open. The NFC, people love Seattle. They like, they kind of like the Eagles a little bit. I'm not many people like the Packers. People loved the 49ers until they got beat up in their last game. I don't know. Who do you like on that side of it?
Well, I mean, obviously Seattle has the bye. That defense is just so good. You know what I mean? They're just lights out. I can't believe Philadelphia decided to rest Jalen Hurst and their starters when they could have played for a win on Sunday and secure the number 2 seed. And instead, they've got to play San Francisco now, right? They could be hosting Green Bay. But now they've got to deal with a San Francisco 49ers team that is no walk in the park. And I know Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant, but Mr. Irrelevant has been to 2 Super Bowls, right? And yeah, the Eagles are the defending champs, and yeah, they're at home, and yeah, they're a very good football team. But I'm a little stunned by all of that, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if I would have sacrificed giving some time off to my starters to, have an opportunity to jump up and play a lesser team. I would, if I had to choose between facing Green Bay and Seattle, I'd want to face Green Bay. But apparently the Eagles didn't think that way, and so they're going to draw the 49ers. I wouldn't be shocked if San Francisco made a run. I don't know, obviously Seattle with the 1 seed and the Rams. I think it'll be somebody from the NFC West for sure. I just don't know who it's going to be. Gun to head, I'm going to take the Rams.
Okay, well, there you have it. The Rams, we'll see. I do like the Rams. Do you have any predictions in the college football semifinals before we let you go? I think we have Indiana against Oregon, and we have the U against who's the other team? Who's the U playing?
Ole Miss. They're playing Ole Miss. Yeah.
Ole Miss against the U.
I tell you what, give me Indiana and the U, and I mean, what a championship game that's going to be. Tradition versus new school. Sig, man, what a job. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's done, right? And obviously, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. His dad was a pretty good coach. I had the pleasure when I was in college I went to Edinburgh. His dad was at IUP, obviously, and when I was there, and I mean, Kurt's just doing unbelievable work in Indiana. And I know NIL money's playing a factor in this day and age, but to put it together in just a couple seasons, give me Indiana and the U. I think that's going to be a Donnybrook of a football game. If they can get that matchup, there will be a lot of eyeballs on that game. If that's the one, I don't care who it is. I mean, if Ole Miss is a great story, obviously, because of Lane Kiffin, but I think it'll be the U in Indiana for all the marbles in college football.
Yeah, okay. Well, that'll be good. John, I appreciate you jumping in. It looks like you are busy doing other things. So enjoy.
I'm going to a $12 billion data center job tomorrow. I'm going to try to put a couple hundred electricians to work with this client that I've been working on for 2 years. So I got a meeting tomorrow. I'm excited. I'm always happy to join you, Paul. You're a good man. I can't thank you enough for asking me to join you.
And so of course you are on Steel City. What is it? Steel City Game Day?
It's Steel City Sunday. You can find us on all the social media sites at Steel City Sunday. Live 3:00 North Park Lounge, Richland on Monday. 5 hours of pregame. Paul Zeise, Todd Haley, John Fedko, and a cast of several. I love you, Paul. I can't thank you enough for joining me all season long on it.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you. There's John Phillips, Steel City Game Day. Here we are now. If you want to bet on the game on Monday or on Sunday night, no, it's Monday night. That's right. Houston against the Steelers. Line's holding pretty steady at 2.5, 3. You can go to your FanDuel app. Make sure that you download it. Make sure you download you download it on your computer, on your phone, however you're going to do it, and then you can go ahead and you can start to make bets about the NFL. And this is a big weekend for betting. You got the NFL, you've got college football, you've got a million different ways that you can bet on all of those things. So go and get your FanDuel app, download it, do everything you can do to make sure you research and see if you can have a big weekend. Until we do it again, we'll do the what do we call it? Black and Gold Game Day, or I'm sorry, we'll call it. I think it's called Black and Gold Day or something. I don't even know what the show is in the morning, but we'll do that tomorrow, and we will get it done. Until such time that we meet again, enjoy your night.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.